desde el manejo de aguas hasta el manejo forestal.
And now, from water management to forest management. And now we have Anton Amado, who is going to talk about design and implementation of a platform for the support of the land management. Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Antonio Amada. I come from the Icarto company, and we are working with the development of geographical information systems, and we are members of the gvSIG association. First of all, I would like to thank the association for allowing us to present this project. I have some problems in my throat, so perhaps I'm going to cough all the time, but you will, and I would like to apologize for that. For this, the name doesn't indicate what is the project, but I'll tell you about this along the presentation. CONAFOR is the forest administration of the Forest Authority of Mexico, and they are in charge of the forest planning in the whole territory of Mexico. And this is a program from the AJONUR. We have the gvSIG association, and they were in charge of the management of some parts of the project. We as Icarto were doing technically performing the project, and on the other hand, we have a Mexican company that has been supporting us in the infill task and collection of information. The project is framed within another project, which is the REPLUS, that has as an objective the fight against climate change and offers incentives to the countries for the management of the forest resources. So they want to reduce the pollution due to CO2, and they are working in forest and in the recovery of forest areas. Then the SIGECO project within the CONAFOR, which is the National Forestry Commission. They have a platform and a database in order to improve the management of the support. What is support? Supports are grants or subsidies that CONAFOR grants to different people or companies in order to promote, for instance, some cultures, some specific cultures, in order to improve forest areas, in order to eradicate problems or fight against pests. And it is very important to say that this is a pilot project. They choose this project among 32 projects. For you to have an idea of the dimension of the project, the National Forestry Commission is managing about 72,000 subsidies. It has more than 700 types of supports, and we have 12 management areas. They take care of different themes. So which was the problem, the initial problem with this project when we wanted to one administration like the CONAFOR wants to provide subsidies for a thing like this? On the one hand, it has to have a history of the support from the beginning of the times. I mean, from many years ago, and then they should have wide information about environment, soil protection, and land use. And they were they had a support for the administrative and accounting part, but they had no application that could allow them to use a database. The study of the territory is very important here. So then, having a large base was very important. The existing problems, dispersion of the information, difficulties in order to share the information between different areas of management. So that was not possible to make good quality decisions. Here we have the different areas of the project, and I would like to say that in these typologies of projects where you work with such a large administration, the design stage is very important. That means to know which are the information sources, all the information you need in order to manage this kind of subsidies, and knowing which are the workflows in this administration. I'm going to tell you about different stages of the project. That was to compile information, both geographical information and alphanumerical information. Here we have a summary of the different areas of management, which are, for instance, we have different reforestation, and then the different states, they have different ones, because there were the 5 pilot states for this area of recompilation of information. We had 2 models. On the one hand, we made meetings in order to know the problems they used, and on the other side, we could understand the workflows. For that, that was very important. If not, it was very difficult to gather together with the different areas of management, and also the geo alternative of the company within this first stage. Once the meeting was done, then we obtain 2 questions. So on the one hand, that they needed a lot of information, land uses and protections. After about 90 base layers were included, and that they needed a geo-reference mapping. Because when a user asks for a grant or subsidy, they are going to give you the coordinates of the area in which this activity is going to take place. And it is very important that you review that for this area, other subsidies were given, and that was not indicated. We also have to define the requirement. We also have to know about this. This is fundamental due to 2 reasons. One, in order to do an application that adapts to what they need. And it is also very important that the final customer knows what they are going to do in order to provide feedback. So a series of meetings were organized in order to know the management tools, in order to know which GIS technologies they were using, which technologies at different levels, and which was the knowledge regarding platforms. So we obtain 2 basic conclusions. On the one hand, that we needed that all the areas of management could use the tool. So we were going to have about 50 tools. Then in each area of management, we had technical users, general users, and others who only need to display the information. We also needed a tool for notices. Each user should know when inside that project he should work. So this is a tool that tell the users which is the stage of the project. And on the other hand, we realize that they use systems of geographical referencing, so the geometries could be done over a GIS. Once this has completed, then we started with the development of the project. The project is developed in two additional stages. One is creating the database, and the other is the development of the tool. As general data for processing, there are about 12 management areas, 5 state management areas. We work in 5 pilot states. 90 base layers were implemented. 70,000 supports between 2011 and 2014 were processed, and 700 different types of support. They manage, but we were working with 72,000 supports. So in order to solve the problems, we did a design for the support, and then we did a corporate SIG based on gvSIG in order to include new supports and set up when they receive an application for a support, they can do addition to adapt the geometry, and then includes some data like the type of support at the management area which is in charge of that support, and then the web platform that has two sub components, display in order to know which are the grants that have already been granted, and the notifications tool that is talking about, which is the activity which is still pending. A user, a company, support, a company or anybody is asking for a support, the technician that knows that area generates the application in GIS. Then we'll have a reviewer who is going to review the information which has been uploaded by the technician. Then this is published. Or if it's not approved, then the reviewer can reject this, and either the support is reviewed or is denied directly. There are many in-field studies, the surface to be work, for instance, whether the culture is the right one. There are different processes. Once the support is validated, it is published in the database and can be visualized in the web viewer. That's all. I would just like to talk about the different profiles of user. And there is an administrative user that administrates database. It can generate new maps and upload new support layers. It can generate new users or give new permissions in order to manage new supports, and may generate new support typologies, because now we have 700 different types of supports, but along the time you may have a new grant or new types of support, and that has to be reflected here. Here you see how this can interact with the different applications. As I told you, I'm going to skip this, and here you have some captures, and here we have the logging of the user. The user will have a name and a password, and based on this, the user will have different levels of access. And here we have different supports that are being processed and the information about those supports, and can decide whether to load it, upload it, or deny it, and reject it, sending it to the technician that prepared that support. Here we have the SIG application in order to edit the geometries. We can also include the name and mainly the type of support. And this can be displayed at a graphical level. But this is the edition tool, the geographical or geometric edition tool. Which have been the results achieved? We already have a database that help to remove the problems that we have at the beginning, or most of the problems. And software development, everything has been done with open software. And as you know, this guarantees technological independence, has no license costs, allows scalability, and as far as this is a pilot project, the platform can be extended and grow, and this can be applied in other states. And as any other project, we have a very important training part. Within this project, we have training to the final users of the platform, the CONAFOR technicians, but we can also appropriate the tool, and although intermediate versions were sent along the project, they were allowed to do some adaptations or propose improvement that could get then into the support part. And online training was provided. The association did it, Mario himself, and then a presential training course was organized at a user level. The tool Francisco Poa Di Carto and Alonso Morilla from Ge Alternativa, which was the Mexican company cooperating with us. Results of the training within the online training, between 40 and 50 technicians were trained, from which 19 obtained the certificates. In the presential training course, 30 technicians from CONAFOR and 13 administrators of the platform were participating. So what can you do with SIGECO? You can consult and share between management areas all the georeferenced information regarding the support. So you can compare this information with other base data. And INEGI is very important, which is the International Institute of Statistics and Geography. We can update database in a quick, immediate, and safe way, and you can be sure that there are no overlappings or duplicities in the support to be granted. Perhaps somebody is asking for different grants for the same plot, and in this way we can check whether these subsidies are compatible or not. And finally, I would like to say that the project is a pilot project that was done in the five pilot projects, in spite that we had a geo display there was we only wanted to make a proposal because that's what we were asked for. The idea is that the project continues. We only have a pilot version, and that's all by me. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'll be very pleased to solve them.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Si hay-
Thank you very much. If there are questions. I have a question for Roxana. You say that at the International Center for Information Technology you use open source software, but is it from the beginning, or at the beginning were you using a private? Specifically, in the center, we started already with open source, but in our center, which is the Center for Geographical Information and Innovation, and we also use privative software, and we started to implement 3-4 years ago the open source, but basically we have we started with privative.
países en
For projects in developing countries, do you think that 30 meters can be a limit in the implementation? Or is this a limit that we can work on, or this is a larger limit?
Perfect for developing country. It is even better than here because the implementation, the original implementation of EPANET is based on the demand in a point. Here in Europe and other countries, we have the demand distributed along the pipe because all the houses connect itself not only in a point but in different steps along the pipe. We are also developing this part for increase the performance here, but for developing countries this is exactly the tool to use because they concentrate the demand in some fun times or so on, but so it is very easy to model it.
Please, other questions? ¿Hay preguntas? No. Bueno, la última pregunta de mi parte para Antón. El destinatario de la...
The destination or owner, should they have proprietary software, or which was the reaction to this tool? Because this is a very useful tool, but for those users which were using proprietary software, were they enthusiastic for the change, or were they reluctant?
No sé si no debe funcionar.
Do you refer inside CONAFOR or for the people who were asking for the grants? In fact, the tool is for the management of the CONAFOR. The format for the people, how do they apply for the grants that's maintained. They have technical data, specific technical data. They have to send the coordinates of their plots or XY coordinates. So for them, the process is the same, and the tool is so they do not interact with the tool. it's the technicians of CONAFOR who upload the information and use the tool, in fact. I understand that this is besides the results, what you need. I understand the success this is done with the application that has no geographical part. What we did with the project, we generated the plots. We were generating all the supports and through an ID. Then you link the supports, the geometry, with the information which is contained in the SIG system. And this is done, which is an identifier of the support. I was not explaining that because I don't think this part is so interesting for us, but that's what they were doing. So you said that the users went through a training, but you said that 50 people were participating and 19 only were getting the certificate. Why? Was it too difficult for them? Did they find this very, very difficult? Yeah. And here, those in charge of coordinating the project with CONAFOR offered the course to a large base of users. And now, I don't have the data, but I think that about 20 and from those 19 were approved. So I mean that many were applying, but not all of them were giving the practical work. And some people, due to their internal work, they were not able to deliver those those pieces of practical work, and that's why they did not get any certificate. If there are no further questions, we're going to finish with this.